Hello friends, I'm here again with another part of the Dev Diary. So we are talking about Dev Diary 7, part 4. Now with part 3, sadly, in the end the game actually crashed on me. Sadly, sometimes this happens, especially with Shogun 2 Vanilla. I even have it sometimes, so I can't do so much about it. So last time we talked about the tier 4 French units. So just to talk about it a bit before we start showing the other ones. So the tier 5 units of France were the 1860 to 1870 units, or the 1860s units. And as you have noticed, they all use early breech loaders, or the trapdoor muskets, or the tabatière. So to just talk about it again, I talked about it in the previous video. The trapdoor, or the tabatière, was actually a conversion rifle from the Minier pattern 1851, while you had an 1860 pattern also. Rifled musket towards a breech loading block musket. So they changed from muzzle loading to a breech block. So they just put a breech block into the barrel, you could say, in front of the barrel, and they also kept the percussion lock. So it was still a percussion lock breech loaded musket. So it was a conversion rifle from the Minier pattern. Now the France really, the main army still was using rifled muskets until 1866, 1867. So most of the trapdoor muskets that were created were mostly used for the French National Guards and some other regiments. But for gameplay reasons, I just kept it for all units, because as you will see in the next example, we are going to take a look at the tier 5 French Imperial Army, and that's the French Imperial Army of the 1870. Normally we have the tier levels are 1870 to 1880, or the 1870s, but we know that in 1870 the French Imperial Army was stuck in the Franco-Prussian War. It's a very significant period for the French army, where they got defeated, of course, and we're going to see where they used a different technology in using rifles. So the tier 5 units, as you can see in the information, I just have to change fact and trace to info. I always forget about it. There's so much to do that I always forget about it. I work alone on this project because it's like really my main project I work on. So tier 5 Second French Empire, as you have noticed, 1870 to 1880, but it ended in 1870 with the Franco-Prussian War, 1870-1871. So yeah, summer dress, winter dress, already explained that. And as you have noticed in the previous video, tier 4 was using the early era breech block muskets or rifle. So this will be a medium era breech muzzle loaded musket or rifle. I just use it just to standardize it, makes it a bit more logical for if people are starting to game or play the mod, so then they know, okay, with which era they are actually working with in the weaponry, at least. So they were all rifled, and they were also using revolvers for the cavalry or officers of the army. Now as I talked about in the previous video, and I just also talked about it, the tier 4 was using the early era breech block rifle. That was the tabatière. Now we are using the middle era breech block, and that's the chassepot. So pretty famous gun, very accurate, and also it was much better than its Prussian counterpart that was using the needle gun, the famous needle gun. Now I said 1867. Now the reason why they changed from the rifle muskets for most of the troops, to the chassepot has to do with a famous battle that was done, was the Battle of Guerning Kratz. This was during the Austro-Prussian War, where the Austrians were still using the, you could say, obsolete, well, it wasn't really obsolete yet, but the obsolete Lorentz rifle. That was the same actually as the French Minier rifle. It was a rifled musket. Now, the Prussians were using the needle rifle, and that the needle rifle was a breech block rifle, so they could fire faster. I mean, reload faster, and reloading was also much more easier, as it could do it kneeling easier, even lying down easier. While most troops using a muzzle musket, I mean a muzzle loaded musket, most of the soldiers preferred to reload standing because it was just easier and faster. And you could say that most armies trained also that way, that they reload their muskets standing. I do know that yes, their soldiers could reload with a muzzle loaded musket kneeling and even lying down, but in most cases they were much slower to reload than, for example, standing. And that is why I just say this. I know, of course, it did happen, but mostly it was standing easier. It's one of the reasons why the Austrians lost. There are also other factors. You could say the Prussians were more in an offensive way. They had, you could say, better generals, while the Austrians were very hesitant in the Battle of Königgrätz. So at least against the Prussians. The Italian front, they did a bit better, but even then, sadly, they had very hesitant generals, and also one of the reasons they lost the battle, even if they had much more men on the battlefield. But okay, that's just sideline of history. We're just going to take a look at the Tier 5 Imperial French troops. I've taken the Portuguese liberal ones as tier 1. Remember, they are tier 1. They're just example. I just showcase. You can see that most guns are all the same. During the Franco-Prussian War, the French used mostly muzzle-loaded guns, rifled ones. I do know that they used, in most cases, now I'm going to use a lot the word mostly, most, but okay. But in most cases, they were using bronze barrel guns, rifled ones. Now in this game, there are iron cast ones or steel ones. You just standardize it for the game, otherwise it just makes it very confusing for the player. So it's just easier to just standardize a bit for gameplay reasons. Is it historical accurate entirely? Of course not, but just for gameplay reasons you have to make decisions. So you could see also that the troops have changed like a lot. During the invention, you could say, of the chassepot or the chassepot, but mostly it's the chassepot. The French army reformed completely. The way is that the Fusiliers, Grenadiers, and Voltigeurs regiments were disbanded, and in its place they were all fused into just the infantry. Just for you to notice, except the guard units. So you have the guard, Voltigeurs, and Grenadiers. They still existed in 1870 until, of course, they got disbanded after the loss of the Franco-Prussian War, until the Third Republic was created, you could say. The same for the Legionnaires, by the way. So here we have an example of the French Legionnaires. So they're not anymore the Fusilier or the Grenadier or the Voltigeur of the Legion. They're now just Legionnaires. One special thing that the French Imperial Army had in the Franco-Prussian War was the famous mitrailleuse. So I'm going to take the mitrailleuse. And you will see how it works. I will take as gun, let's say, they still had the Napoleon gun, by the way. It was a very good gun, but you could say it was becoming obsolete in the Franco-Prussian War. The Prussians maybe had, you could say, lesser rifles in a way. I mean, towards the French had just better rifles, but the Prussians had definitely much better guns. They had steel cast guns that were breech loaded, the famous Krupp guns, and they were really accurate and pretty powerful also. One of the reasons they won it with the war, and of course, you know, better generals. We all know the story, I don't have to explain why the French lost the Franco-Prussian War. The time that they mobilized took so much more longer than, for example, the Prussians. The Prussians were more organized in that way, plus they used much better way of using the railway system that the French had. It was kind of a disaster, and the way that also the Prussians used military tactics, you could say they were like the forebearers of modern mobile warfare, while the French were still a bit stuck in the past in using mass fire and yeah, in that way more traditional, while the Prussians really were more in the battalion level, where they gave a bit more independence to the officers of the battalions to make decisions, while with the French army it was just really dependable of the French corps commander. So it's difficult to explain. I've read so much about the Franco-Prussian War, but I'm sure there are a lot of history buffs that probably know more than I do. I would just take the horse guns. So they are rifled horse field cannons. Here you have seen I've changed the name because I forgot about it last time. And now we go to the Portuguese. These are the liberal tier 1 units, so from the 1830s. You can see they have also custom generals that were fighting during the Miguelist War, the Portuguese Civil War. I explain more that in depth in the part 1 video, so I will put every link below, but you can also find it when you click on my channel. You will also find the videos there. Which can we lose? Was it 36 and 32? Let's just give them mortars now. You can see here that they have mostly more basic units, not really elite units. So we have the Cazador and the Fusiliers and the Grenadiers. So I'm sure people will maybe say, yeah, but they had more units. You know, if you have more pictures of the 1830s of the French Portuguese liberal army, you can always send it to me. It's not very easy to find really good, accurate art. So yeah, who knows? I mean, I need a standard army, and we shall see in the future. I will still add some new units maybe for the Portuguese if you have good art for them. So last time we played on the Oasis map, so that's that's, you know, one of the basic, the maps made for the game, for the mod. This one I'm not going to take yet. It's more of a siege kind of type, maybe in a later time. But let's just go to the pyramids of Giza. So as you have seen, I always play on normal just to test out the game. The game has been tested on normal hard, normal and hard. So you can always play on very hard and even legendary, but I don't know, actually, can you play on legendary? No, here not. At least not in battles, but on the campaign map you can also use legendary. But just to let you know, legendary is going to be really difficult. The AI gets a lot of buffs, because sadly, yeah, that's the way how the AI, well, the algorithm works. It needs buffs, otherwise it sucks. So yeah, I mean, otherwise a player, I know, is it fair? No, I already explained it in part 1. It's not fair, of course. I actually hope that CA one time is maybe going to program difficulties for the battle AI, so it doesn't need to cheat. Maybe you can create simple algorithms for easy play mode, and then like for hard or very hard or legendary ones, they merely make algorithms where the AI can just play better, like flanking or whatsoever. But I think in this case, I don't think it's going to be that easy for CA to do it. They probably have to invest too much money in that, so yeah, it's pretty difficult. So yeah, the only thing what a good AI is to cheat, sadly, but okay. So here we are at the map of Giza, and you can already see that we have here the pyramids. So I think that's pretty cool. Yep. Those are the famous pyramids of Khufu or Cheops, and then the other ones. I don't know all the names. And here you also have the smaller ones in the front, and you have the Sphinx. So yeah, can't go there with the kit because if you're playing 4x4, then you will probably start somewhere here. So you have a bigger map, but the map is already pretty big. So we also have the Nile River next to it, so that's a pretty big map. And here you have some different palm trees and a bit of a oasis as the oasis map, so that's pretty cool also. So yeah, you can play in the desert. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now let's see the units.
Infanterie légère à vos ordres, monsieur. À vos ordres. Infanterie légère à vos ordres, monsieur.
I'm just rearranging a bit the units just for a showcase. And then we move a bit forward and maybe use a bit of the more mother gun, so then you can see a bit of the difference.
À vos ordres. Garde, préparez-vous. Nous avançons, monseigneur. En avant. Quels sont vos ordres? Hussards! Les hussards attendent de se couvrir de boire, monsieur. Hussards! Lanciers, au rapport! Préparez-vous à vous battre. Garde du corps! Cuirassiers, au rapport! À vos ordres!
So let's do some a showcase. Let's start here on the flank with the infantry, of course. And here we have the Imperial Guard Zouave units. And as you see, I always speak when I have to say something unbelievable, but and here you can see that they are using the new chassepot, the famous chassepot that they were using during the Franco-Prussian War. So we changed from the tabatiere towards the chassepot. So yeah, they've changed a bit. Here we can see, you know, tier 5 is like we are starting more of a modern warfare system. So here we have the foot infantry, and you also can see that mostly have here's just the foot infantry. So before they were like the Fusiliers, Grenadiers and Voltigeurs, but they got disbanded after 1867, so it was not needed anymore. So here we have just the normal infantry, and you can see that they all have forage caps. Here we have the Legionnaires. So yeah, elite units, of course. Legionnaire units. Okay. And here we have the famous mitrailleuse. This is the mitrailleuse. You will see later how it works. This is the handle. This is to the camera. This is to crank it. So every time, you know, they shoot a couple of bullets, and then, you know, you have to crank it first, so then they can actually, you know, crank it is to open it and to close it, and then crank it, and then here's a handle, of course, where you shoot. The way it works in game, it actually uses the Gatling gun engine type. Sadly, the Gatling gun in the game, or the engine that actually uses it, doesn't have a reload system, so it means it always will shoot until the ammunition is over, if the enemy is inside, so in the firing range of the mitrailleuse. So yeah, they have a, let me see, a 400 range. It's pretty well, you know. The normal infantry is 200, this is 400, and they have an ammunition of 500. You will see that like the Gatling gun, that is the other tier, they will have like higher ammunition. That's the way I actually balanced it out. So the mitrailleuse will fire pretty quickly, but also it will finish pretty fast also of ammunition, so, you know, use it wisely. And also there's a different projectile, so they are not that accurate as like more modern machine guns like Gatling guns, Gardner gun and Maxim guns and whatsoever. So this is like the first real modern, semi-modern machine gun, or well, semi-automatic. It's not really an automatic gun, it's because you still use a handle, so it's a manual machine gun. You'll see how it works. It's also horse drawn, so you can use it for fast, to move your troops the mitrailleuse fast from one place to another. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. It's not very useful to use the mitrailleuse. So here we have the Guard Voltigeurs, and you also can see they're not using shakos anymore, but forage caps. There are some versions where they use kind of like a modern Grenadier cap, but I just liked more. In other pictures they're using the forage cap, so I just used this model because I liked it more personally. I'm sure other people like the other one more, but okay, I use this one. Here we have the Guard Grenadier, so they are the old guard. So also with forage cap, so they're not using any more bearskin. So that's also has changed in the 1870 war, Franco-Prussian War. Here we have the mitrailleuse again. We already saw that one. Here are the Algerian tirailleurs, a bit the same as the previous tier, except with different rifles. And here we have The engineers. Yes, the engineers. So the Imperial Guard engineers were also disbanded at the 1867 reform, French Imperial Armor reform. So I just replaced them with just normal engineers as you have in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Which one is this one? These are the Zouaves, of course.
Une bataille, c'est savoir se battre,
okay.
mais aussi savoir attendre.
The Zouave units. And here we have the Skirmishes. Yes, Skirmisher units. Light infantry, you could say. Yep. Let's go. Well, the cavalry is actually the same as previously. There are no changes, except that they are using the chassepot as carbine cavalry. So also very accurate, fast reload. And the rest is the same, so I don't really have to show that off because it's the same as in previous previous video. So I recommend you to look first at part 3. Here we have the 6-pounder rifled field horse gun, iron cast, not bronze, what I already explained. We have the cuirassier. We have seen this model also. The general model has changed a bit also, so here we can see a bit of a different version, you could say, than previous one. I think previous one they were, I don't remember, I think they were also using a forage cap, but it's a bit different. So this is the general and his staff, and with the eagle. These are the Sans-Garde, still the same, and the 9-pounder rifles. So let's see what the AI does. If the AI comes to us, I just stay here and let them shoot them. Let my men shoot them to pieces. If not, we just move forward.
Prepare to attack, sir.
Got the feeling that they are moving forward, but let's, or maybe they're reforming their army. So I'm just going to check up to, I think they are moving, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay, let's see at their army. So these are the Lancers, if you have not seen them yet. The liberal Portuguese Lancers. And here we have the mounted Caçadores. Someone asked me in the one of the comments, oh Lord, so loud, that about the cavalry, about the mounted horse units. Well, you can see here that I think I explained in one of the other videos. If you have seen all the videos, I explain normally everything in depth. There are new horse models. They come from Napoleon Total War, and you can also see that they are smaller. So they are smaller than actually vanilla. I think they are more realistic. So yeah, just for you to know. Plus you can see a bit more different equipment, different saddles, different colors, of course. So yeah, so then you know, okay, there are even different horses also to make it more realistic. Let's see the units here. They're not moving forward, so I have to go forward. So here we have the Grenadiers. So the Tier 1 Grenadiers with their flintlocks. And regimental colors. Okay, we have seen the Grenadiers. Here are the Caçadores. Yes, here are the normal Caçadores, and with the regimental flags and the national liberal flag, or the constitutional monarchy one. Yes, we have to verify the gunpowder, I think he was saying. And here we have the Fusiliers. So these are the normal line infantry of the Portuguese liberal troops. Yep. And let's go to the general. So that's King Pedro the Fourth. So he actually proclaimed himself Emperor of Brazil, and he also made his Brazil independence. So it's one of the reasons why his younger brother Miguel actually said like, nope, you can't be king of Portugal because you made Brazil independent and you are not part of Portugal anymore. And he said like, nope, forget it, I'm also king of Portugal. And that's why you got actually the war, maybe. And here we have the Smoothbore siege mortars, 24 pounders, pretty heavy shell, good for sieges. And these are the 12 pounders. Yep, and I think that's actually it. Yep. So let's move forward. Let's see.
Garde à vous. Les hussards attendent de se couvrir de noir, monsieur. Lancier, votre attention.
So I'm just reforming my troops. So you can see them walking. Yep, you can see walking with the mitrailleuse. Sure, people will probably love to see the mitrailleuse firing, I guess. Here you still have the eagle, the flutist. I think I showed it last. So here we have the flutists and the rest of the army. Let's just speed it a bit faster. Now, mostly the reason why the AI does not move forward is because I do not have guns that actually reach until that part of their line. And the AI is at least a bit smart enough to understand, okay, the player or the one that is my enemy, especially in defense, I already have said it that they are one of the best AIs I've seen, at least in defense, Shogun 2-1. But it calculates, okay, the artillery doesn't shoot to me and I'm in defense, so he has to come towards me. So that's, that is why at least in most cases that I've seen, that the AI just waits until you come forward, but I will try to test this theory by deploying my guns so they actually reach their line to see if they move forward, yes or no. I'm not sure, but let's see. But in most cases, if you have directly guns prepared and they reach their line, even if they are in defense, they will come forward because they want to destroy your artillery piece, because otherwise they know they get shot to pieces. So one of the best AIs I've seen, still my opinion, the best Total War game in the Warscape engine. I think Rome and Medieval 2 are, one of the legendary classics, you could say. Yeah, they are moving forward. So you see, the AI is not stupid, you could say.
Fier de combattre sous votre commandement, monsieur.
I'm just going to here you can see the unit firing, so just put it a bit like in slow motion. The Chassepots was still using paper cartridges and black powder. I think you see the mitrailleuse is now firing. As you can see here, you have to be careful it doesn't fire on your unit. So let's just play. You can hear the sounds. I do, the modern units have do not have square formation anymore, just for you to know, because it's not really necessary anymore in modern warfare to have it.